Roadhog gets nothing effect. Has that one taken away by Troy Hellman. It seems like this could be.
Hello and welcome to the Overwatch League recap, a talk show focusing on the Overwatch League. I am Blazin' Bob, and today we are joined by I Play Games, who had to leave very fast during the last episode. I Play, is everything good now?
Yes, thankfully everything is good. Unfortunately, my girlfriend's mother had a little bit of a hiccup there. She had a heart attack, so we had to take her, or we didn't have to take her to the hospital, but they had to take her to the hospital real fast. So we just rushed over there to make sure that everything was okay. But thankfully, they were very swift with everything. They were able to get to her really fast. So nothing major happened. Now she's recovering. She has to go through some rehabilitation now. It's gonna be a slow recovery, but the immediate danger is out. So yeah, we're thankful for that. And now I'm back, ready to talk Overwatch again.
Yeah, send Kristen my love. Like that, I don't know if that's a little hiccup. Like that is scary, and we are. Everybody listening, please send whatever you do, your prayers, your happy thoughts, your good vibes. Send them towards iPlay's girlfriend's mom, please.
Yeah, she was very scared this week, so definitely I've had to be there for her this week and be very attentive. Try to see what her mom needs, and
just like every other week is a wonderful boyfriend, right?
Yeah, exactly. Just like every other week.
No changes.
Nope.
And that other beautiful voice that you hear is Mel. How you doing, Mel?
Hi, I'm good. No life crises here right now, so.
Well, we're moving. That's kind of a life crisis. It's been a little hectic getting everything done for the next place, setting everything up. Luckily, I will still have gigabit internet going to the new place. Thank gosh, because the first person I called was Comcast, who I'm sure Atlanta Raid would like me to use, but unfortunately, they could only offer me 10 up. And I was like, 10 up? Like, dude, I upload like 50 gigs to YouTube weekly. There's no way I could do 10 up. Are you kidding me? I mean, YouTube will...
Atlanta doesn't care about Comcast, though. I think that's like Fusions, right?
Oh, I thought Atlanta Raid was Comcast. What am I getting them?
No, Atlanta is Cox.
Cox. Okay. Comcast is who Slambo works for.
They like Coca-Cola, but that's about it.
Oh man, yeah.
So with the move, the only thing Bob has really been worried about is our internet connection. So now he's got to like
genuine concern.
It's a huge concern.
I'm with you there. Like I can live almost anywhere as long as I have high-speed internet.
Yeah, to put it in perspective, when I upload a video to YouTube, usually this episode is around 10 gig to do it at 1080p. So that 10 gig takes a good, half an hour to process, right? And YouTube accepts it at about 200 meg per second. So 10 meg per second, can you imagine like how bad that would have been? It would have been absolutely horrible. Like we probably just would have had to stream on YouTube so it stays on YouTube. But crisis averted, and nobody cares about that. So let's just move on into the show. I'd like to start the show always by thanking our producer, Shazir. Thank you so much. You're helping making the dream happen. At the top of the show, I'd like to remind everybody to check out fantasyowl.com. That's fantasyowl.com. It's a really cool site. I played a lot of daily fantasy this weekend, and it's great because it's a one-day commitment. So I wasn't so bummed when Twilight didn't play, and when Aim God didn't play, and when all these different people I thought were going to play didn't play. So it was no big deal.
Mel and Andres forgot to put in their pick'ems for the week, and
yeah, you guys suck at pick'ems. I can always say I'm just better at calling the matches because I have proof.
Well, I have proof in my head that I'm way better than you.
All right. Well, it was an exciting week in Overwatch League. We're going to talk about a little news, and then we're going to kind of jump in and talk about the meta changes, because there were some big changes in hero picks this last week. I mean, big changes. Like, for instance, Zarya went from like being picked 35% of the time to being picked 1.4% of the time. So we'll have a lot to talk about there, but let's jump right in and talk about some league news. So, league news, Sigma will be playable in the Season 2 playoffs, along with the current balance patch that is on the PTR. There could be changes to that too going forward. Seems like the Overwatch team is finally okay with making changes on the PTR before it gets released to the public. Whereas for the longest time there, once it was on the PTR, you were pretty sure it was coming to live, and then they'd address it afterwards. But seems like they're making a lot of changes. But what do you guys think about Sigma being playable in the playoffs?
I like it. I think that it gives the players some time to kind of adjust to the new hero. But we at least get to see it in competitive play, because the thing is, if we don't see it in the playoffs this season, then we don't see it until next year. And
Right.
that would
Well,
be
except World
kind of
Cup.
a bummer. Well, okay, we'll see at a World Cup. But again, World Cup is just like a mini event, and a lot of the players don't take it super, super seriously. I mean, they take it seriously, but they're not trying to, do like super crazy strategies or anything like that, like we see in the Overwatch League, where it's like that's where the big boys play, right? That's where the big money is. So that's where everyone's trying to put in like those things in there. So I'm glad that they're bringing it in. And I think that Blizzard should be okay with like putting new heroes into the league. Like, it shouldn't be like, oh no, it's the league, so we shouldn't put new heroes in. Like, this is the way this game works, and the league should be like that too.
Definitely.
Players in the league should be expecting new heroes to come in the middle of the stage break or in the middle of the playoffs. Like, I do agree that they should be strategic about it and not just drop the hero in like the middle of a stage, like week 2 or something like that, where like it might throw everyone off balance. But as long as you give players some notice, which they do have right now, I'm all for it.
What
I
about you,
guess I
Mel?
just don't know. I don't know how much he'll actually get played, right? Because right now teams are so focused on figuring out the 2-2-2 meta, right? Because they got a big bomb dropped on them stage 4. So now they're 2-2-2. And we saw in week 1, it was just like chaos lots of times, right? Like, just so many characters played. And so I think people are still trying to get a handle on that. I think, yes, they have a decent amount of time to prepare for it, but they have a decent amount of time to prepare for it where they're also going to be preparing for 1 to 2 matches a week, right? So I'm not sure how realistic it is to think that even though Sigma is going to be playable, that he'll actually play much. It's kind of like Brigitte, right? Like, Brigitte was playable, but there were very few teams that played her up until a point, right? Like, maybe you see some
Yeah,
of
I
those
mean
underdog teams.
Dallas. Yeah, Dallas played a ton of her in stage 4 and reaped the benefits of it too. Oh, I should also
Right.
state
But
that
they
this is
they
going to
had like
be he's going to be available in the play-ins as well.
right. But Dallas had nothing to play for, right? Like, they were playing for stage 4 and stage 4 only. They weren't playing to get into the playoffs. I think they were already eliminated from the playoffs at that point. So, I mean, you may see it that way, but I think with it only being available for the play-ins and the playoffs, it's like, okay, those teams are going to concentrate on what they can do. And if by chance they have a savant on their team that just really picked up Sigma, but Sigma's a hard character. Like, he's not one that you can
Yeah,
just
you're
pick up
telling
and.
me.
But I think what's interesting to me with the changes coming in is that they're eliminating stage playoffs, right? Next year.
Yep.
So what is that going to do to balance patches?
They've stated that teams will have a 2-week notice. That's their initial statement. Nothing's set in stone for that too. So It's something up in the air, but I think iPlay is right. I think that it's part of the game. Like esports is a constantly changing thing, and I think it should be. And I think that teams that can adapt quicker are should be the best teams, not people that just do one thing really really well. And I think it makes the league more exciting going forward. I'm excited to see because I just want to know how to play Sigma correctly.
And
Don't we all? Don't
I
we all?
I do agree that at first we might not see a lot of Sigma, but don't I mean don't I would count on the players like playing this hero a lot. Like they're already playing this hero a lot. Not all of them, but some of them are. And by the time that the playoffs and the play-ins come in, some of them are going to be good or really good at Sigma because there's a reason why they're professional Overwatch League players, right? They're
For sure.
already the whole package. They're already really good at timing. And the thing about like learning a new hero is that the better you're at Overwatch, the easier it is for you to go into this hero, right? Because the
For
medium
sure.
in which this hero interacts is not any different, right? Like the physics of the game are still the same. Your sensitivities and stuff are it's still all gonna be the same. So it's more of a matter of now learning the timings and maybe the mechanics, some tricks, and learning the style of this hero, which
But I think it's the
I,
rest of the team trying to learn how to play with that tank as well, right?
True.
Because it's it's hard enough to switch from a dive tank composition to a bunker composition, right? Where like the team synergy is so different in both. So you put in a new tank trying to figure out what that synergy is, what he brings to the table, what he, doesn't, and not just that one person being able to play them really, really well, but everybody else being able to adjust their play style as well.
oh no, and I totally agree. That's why it'll be a slow ramp up, but there will be I think some teams that are gonna try to like pull him off, and because he brings a whole new dimension to the game, right? So if you're
For sure.
abusing what he can bring, that could be interesting. But you're right. Some heroes do take a minute to kind of like really get the full potential. Even a hero like Orisa, which is not overly complicated, right? But if you
Hmm.
look at the early Orisa play to the Orisa play that you see now, it's completely different. And like the Orisa play that you see now is so refined, right? Like the halt is used to set up so many plays. When Orisa came out, halt hook was a thing. You could do the halt hook when Orisa first came out. Was it done? No. Would you see it often? No. Even at professional play, that wouldn't happen like that often. Even the maps that Orisa would get played. But now it's like a regular thing, right? Like everybody knows about it. Everybody knows how powerful it is, and people have practiced it for so long and have seen so many examples of how to do it that is just second nature now. Even us in our games are like consistently doing the halt hook. Even when we're rotating heroes, we're still pulling off the halt hook combo because we're all so familiar with it now. And it took a long time for it to get to this point, right? And now you're getting like some super intricate plays where you're pulling people into Mei ultimate, into the Hanzo's ultimate. Even like heroes like Anna will be targeting their nade at the halt nowadays. So it's like a whole new level of interactions.
Very very true. Yeah, I think we'll see him some. So another bit of league news is the MVP finalists for 2019 have been announced for the Overwatch League, and I don't know about you, but I'm a little upset with the candidates. We've got Sinatra, who played this season as a one-trick Zarya. We've got Super, who played as a one-trick Ryan. We've got Twilight, who I voted for. We've got Gu Shui, who was splitting time for the first stage and part of the second stage, and then we have Janu, uh, the the diva player for the Titans, and I just feel like there was so like, why is two Titans there but not Haksal, who basically made the goats combo for the Titans. Like his brig play was the reason they were so, one of the biggest reasons they were so dominant. So, and it's the reason Bumper survived. So, what do you guys think of the MVP candidates and who did you vote for?
I voted for Super. I think that he brought me a lot of entertainment this season. One because he actually was a really really cool Reinhardt to watch during the Goats meta. I actually enjoyed watching Reinhardt for the first time in a long time. And also because he's super salty and it was hilarious just listening to him complain after Sombras and all this other stuff. So I voted for Super.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like it's so hard that these MVPs are going to be chosen off the first three stages, and then we go to this 2-2-2 meta, right? Because so many different people are going to stand out now that did then, right? Like Gushue, I think, did really great, but I don't know what he's going to do in a 2-2-2 meta, right? Same thing with Sinatra. I think he did a really great job on Zarya, and he was really good last year too, but is he
Sinatra
going
was
to
not
be?
really good last year. He
He
got
was good.
benched over and over again.
He was good.
Yeah,
He wasn't.
he was adequate at times. I'll give him that. That's why I voted against him. You know, like the
Mhm.
start of the season, he just wasn't. He did not shock and awe like Mister 150K was supposed to.
I feel like these picks are the picks that are hyped up the
Popular.
most in the casting and in the media, right? Like everybody talks about Super being great. Everybody talks about Sinatra being great. But that's something you have to live with being a, you know, like targeting your audience to the casual player, right? Like that's what Overwatch League has tried to do is target the casual player, trying to get them in. So most of their knowledge isn't in-depth analysis of the Brigitte play that Haksal was doing, but it's who's being talked about the most. And those are the people that they're picking. So I don't see how you can I don't see how you can say any of these players weren't really good throughout the season,
Yeah, they
but
all were really good.
right.
Goose
It's not like we
like
have Pine in
Gooseways
there.
Ryan could use some help, but the guy's monkey is legendary. But who did you vote for, Mel?
I don't even remember. I don't think any of these people. I probably voted for Jake and
Well,
Muma
no, I
and
mean, but so you haven't voted yet. Because you
oh,
can vote
no,
just
on
right
these
on the,
people?
yeah, just right on, like it pops up right on the Twitch stream and you just click it.
No,
Right
I'm not
now,
gonna vote.
Sinatra's in the lead.
I'm not gonna vote until the very end. I want to give myself as much time because you can only vote once.
Well, I
So
don't
I
know
need to
how it works
see.
because I've voted a couple times now. It's popped up and I've clicked Twilight again.
But I
Oh,
think
really?
you're
Yeah,
voting on the Twitch like game app
it's
that
it's
the Twitch
not.
picks.
It literally comes up and says vote for your 2019 MVP.
Yeah, but
It's
I think
those
that's on the
five
Twitch
names.
picks.
It's those five. Oh, is there a Twitch picks for the MVP or something too?
Yeah, I mean, they said they were gonna do like different things with it. So
Oh,
like,
there might be like a popular vote, like you can vote like the crowd votes for their own MVP. I don't know.
yeah, it's like the new like Overwatch League picks that we talked about last week. You know what I'm talking about? Like
Yeah,
the interactive
those
Twitch.
actually didn't go live.
They
Those
did go live, but
failed.
they did go live. They were live for like the first 2 days, I think, but then had some issues on the back end, and so they cut them off. But yeah, I don't know. But no, I haven't voted yet. I will vote when we get closer to the deadline.
I I personally don't mind any of these. Like these are standout players of the whole season, and I do think that we're going into a different meta, and these players might not be looking that good. But I mean, we could say the same thing about Jonak, right? Like he's an amazing player, but he hasn't looked like he looked last season. And last season he was just like plowing over everyone, and this season he's been struggling. Is he a bad Zenyatta? No, he's still one of the best Zenyatas in the world. Um, these just happen to be the players that were
Popped
a
off
highlight
during
this season.
goats.
Exactly. And like you gotta commend them for that. Sinatra was not a Zarya player and he did a fantastic job. Super really stepped up as the Reinhardt. Gushue, it's amazing because that man will get a kill every time he goes into primal rage. Like that's commendable too. And if you look at the stats of all these players, they're the first or second in most of the areas. Um, like shout out to Twilight too. He's like first place in almost all of his categories, including team win rate, lowest first death rate in team fights, hero damage per 10 minutes, and team fight win rate after he secures first elimination. So I think that this is a monster of a player right here, super invaluable to the Titans and their success, and they deserve it. I'm glad that they're doing this based on the performance too, like actual on paper performance and how they look throughout the season. I think is the most fair way to do it.
Okay, fair enough. All right, moving into other news. Krystal fined and apologized for his extended absence. Basically, Krystal had an illness in the family, went back home with permission, but then went AWOL. And then the Spark put out a press release letting everybody know that he had not contacted them. He was supposed to be back and not in scrims, and he was fined. And unfortunately, the esports crowd came after Hanzo Spark for doing what every team should be doing. It's being transparent and telling us what's going on. We support them. We pay a lot of money for their merch. We deserve to know what is going on, and that's the way it is in every major sport. And I just want to say to anybody that said that the Spark should have thought about his like feelings and not aired dirty laundry, you're just wrong. It's not an opinion. You're wrong.
Well,
But
it
what do
is
you
an
guys
opinion.
think?
It is an opinion. I'm not going to go that far, but I I will say that I think that the Spark came out and announced that basically they had tried to get in touch with him and they couldn't, and this was what they had decided to do. And I think they were sympathetic to the fact that he had a family illness, but he even said in his apology that he didn't realize he had to contact them. And my thoughts to that are like, welcome to adulthood, welcome to real life. Like, yeah, if you're not going to be
That's
back
your
at your job when you say you're
that's your
going to,
job. Yeah,
you need to
that's a
tell them.
no show.
I don't
It would be
care if I don't even care if somebody in your family died. Like, I know that sounds inconsiderate, but like if somebody in my family died, I would call my work and tell them, I'm sorry, I can't
I'm
make it
not gonna
in.
make it. Yeah, like I'm not gonna make it, but at least I'll let you know that I'm not gonna make it.
Right. Like, and if I don't, I expect that there could be repercussions. You know what I mean? Like, and I think that's just, it's the difference, right? It's the difference of these players are very young, a lot of them, and they haven't had a job a lot of times where they have to call in and let people know that they're going to come back, right? Like, I'm sure, to give Krystal the benefit of the doubt, I'm sure in his mind he was trying to get a visa and things weren't getting approved, and he just thought like, I'll get back there as soon as I can. But now, I bet next time something like that happens, every single player will think twice about not calling their team and letting them know. You know, like, I think it's the professional thing to do on both ends. And I don't think Spark was in the wrong, but I don't think Krystal was deliberately in the wrong either.
Oh no,
Yeah,
yeah, I don't think that either.
and this one, I don't know. I don't think it's like a huge deal. Like honestly, if they had kept it private, I'd have been okay with that because it's not like
I
it's a
wouldn't.
problem. It's not a problem
Like I
for
have him on my
everyone.
fantasy team. What do you mean? Like no, like
I
I
mean,
didn't even know he was gone.
they could have been more vague though. They
Sorry,
could
sorry, but
have.
I play. You were. I didn't mean to
No,
cut you
that
off.
that's what I was saying. Like Mel was saying, like they don't have to be as specific. Just be like, hey, Krystal will not be here because of unforeseen circumstances, but he will be joining at a much later date. You can still find the player, and like that can
Right.
be a thing. But I don't think it's an announcement that you have to make publicly. Like,
I'm not sure
sure,
they would have made it though if they had talked to him, right? But I think like, and the fact that he replied to the Twitter post makes me think one of two things. Either that the Spark did not try very hard to get in touch with him, which I don't know that they needed to, right? Like that's his responsibility to get
I
in
feel
touch.
like that's just
But
like that nowadays thing. Like, why do people just communicate like that on social media? Like, even
right.
our president is just like throwing stuff on
Yeah. Oh
Twitter
god.
like that. It's like,
Hold on,
why,
Hud.
why do
Hold
people need
on.
to communicate over there?
I'm feeling really sick, sweetie. I'm gonna send a tweet to my boss real quick to tell him that I'm not coming in.
Yeah, what is this?
Seriously though.
Just
Like
use PMs.
and that's where like he replied. So I'm either thinking one, Hangzhou Spark did not try to get in touch with him very well, or two, he saw that and was like, "Oh crap, I should probably say something," right? And if that's the case, like, come on, dude, like, don't respond on Twitter. Like, at least send a direct message or something. Like,
But I find that hard to believe that like the Spark, the organization itself, could not reach Krystal at all. So they made a tweet, and then that's when he decided to like appear out of nowhere. That just sounds weird.
it does sound weird, but I mean, I don't know. I still think either way, and sometimes I do think that things are lost in translation, right? Like I think the tweet from the Spark might have sounded more harsh than maybe it was meant to because of the translation. Because I don't think that they meant to say like Krystal is gravely warned. Krystal will be fined 3 times his salary, right? Like I don't know. I mean, maybe they did. Maybe they
Yeah, I
meant
think
to.
it was just very factual is what it came across to me, but I want more of that in the league, and especially if there's going to be fantasy stuff going forward and when money starts becoming involved in it, like these things are very important to disclose to the public, period. Like if someone's not going to play, you need to know. There would never be an NFL
Yeah,
player
yeah,
that
that part
just
should be
takes off,
announced.
and doesn't come back. Like it doesn't call
No,
anybody.
no, that part should be announced. Like how specific you gotta be about it, I don't know. Even the fine could have been kept like private. I mean, let's still fine him because, like Mel said, that's your job, and if you don't show up for your job, like that has to have repercussions. If not, the players would be doing whatever they wanted all over the place, right? Um, but
But I
yeah,
think they're
I don't
taking
know.
their baby gloves off, right? Like they're like, "Hey, listen, this is the standard." And by doing this to Crystal, I'm sorry, Crystal, but you're an example, you
Maybe
know?
that's why they aired it, because yeah, they want to show an example. Like, yeah, you gotta be on it. Like, you are a really good player, and there's not a ton of people like you. It's not like we can just replace you the next day. But that being said, you're not unique, and there's an opportunity that many people want. So if you're not gonna take it seriously, there's a line of people out there who will.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely. In some other news, we're just going to push through it really fast because we really want to talk about 222. So, Coach 185 leaves London. I forget his actual name, but Coach 185? What is his name? Hold on. Okay, I forget his actual, but okay, Coach 185 leaves. That's all I got for you.
Coach 185.
Moby Dick joins the Defiant as an assistant coach. Munchkin officially leaves Soul Dynasty. We told you last week that it was him taking a break and he'd be back in season 3, but he has officially left. Curry Shot joined Charge as a strategic coach. If you guys want any more information on this, the links will be provided in the show notes. Now,
Wait. One more.
what's up?
The Outlaws finally freed Mindo.
Oh, he's no longer employed.
Nope.
I was surprised that they still had him for this long. Like I don't even think you even watch him play Overwatch for like a
He-
year.
He's going to pursue his professional Apex career.
That's what he was playing this whole time.
Well,
Why still in the Outlaws? That is so weird. He never even played once. That is the weirdest hire that I've
because
ever
he's
seen in
a
my
nice
life.
guy.
I mean, maybe he's a nice guy, but why? How did he end up in Overwatch League? Like he is a great player. Don't get me
Well, I
wrong.
think he was a
Wait, so-
Mechanically,
streamer
he's
this
good.
season.
So
I think he was
who's
a
Mendo?
streamer this season. Mendo? Come on.
Exactly.
I know, I'm making the joke.
No. I think that if you're gonna hire, because he was supposed to play in the beginning, but then
Yeah.
somehow something happened and he wasn't going to play, so he became a streamer. But then he wasn't even streaming Overwatch. He in his stream he would kind of like make fun of the Outlaws sometimes too, which is like it
Come
makes
on,
no
Mendo.
sense. It makes no sense. So I this one comes to no surprise to me.
Yeah. I wasn't torn up about it.
All right, well,
I will
let's.
say, I'm glad that Krystal is joining, though. He is an amazing player. We've actually had him in Overwatch League before. He was the McCree episode that we did a while back.
in Omnic Lab, you mean?
Yep.
Nice.
What did I say?
You said
Overwatch League.
Overwatch League.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, you guys are. I mean, you guys.
Time.
Yeah, you guys are as big as the Overwatch League. Write that down.
Not even close.
All right, so let's move into the exciting week that was. First off, like what I want to just talk about right off the bat is the meta. So the meta, crazy change. Roadhog picked 46.9. All stats grabbed are from omnicmeta.com. Roadhog.
Switch from omnicmeta.com?
The Switch Fox. Roadhog picked 46.9% of the time, up 25% from the end of stage 3. May picked 40.2% of the time, up 36% from last stage. Then the next DPS was Widowmaker at about 35%, Hanzo at about 34%. Sombra at about 30%. And then the next DPS on the list is Reaper at 13.9%, up 12% from his measly 1.9% from the week before. But is there anything that jumps out at you guys about just the meta shifting in the way it did? And do you have any thoughts on why?
Yeah, they need to put the devil back in her cage and stop playing May. Like, this is just ridiculous, people. That's all I have to say.
May has definitely been one of the more interesting like side effects of the meta of the 222, but it's a direct response to Roadhog and Orisa. It
Yeah.
just so happens that May it's an amazing counter to the Hulk hook combo. A combo that is so reliable that you can't just rely on dodging it. Like it will catch you at one point or the other, and there's nothing that you can do. Once you get pulled, you're at the mercy of the Roadhog. So you need something that can stop it. Certain heroes can do it. Um, Sigma, for example, will be in a great position to stop the halt hook combo, just like May. He can just put his shield up whenever this is happening, and you can kind of like move it around anytime you need. But May is sort of the best hero in that position right now to counter it, because every time that you get the halt hook, you just wall in front of you, and then that hook is not coming through, right? You block the hook, or even if he gets that hook through, the person will get caught in the wall as the hook is retracting, right? So in general, really good against the combo, and also incredibly good against Orisa. And with Orisa, you can use your wall as a pseudo shield when your Orisa shield falls down, and you can also use the wall to block the other Orisa bunker so that you can start moving up uncontested. So meta-wise, May is just kind of like fitting the bill, and especially the players or the teams that have players that can play May are taking full advantage of it right now.
It sounds like an awful meta. Can we have goats back? Not a fan.
The cool thing is that May is not the end all be all. I think that a lot of teams are
I know.
using it as a tool, but I've seen some teams try to use May and actually not use her well. And I think that for those teams, a different approach might be interesting. The teams that have been able to use it well, though, they look really good. One that should be paid attention to is actually Hangzhou Charge. The charge is doing Guangzhou, yeah, sorry. Guangzhou is doing really good with the main Nero or Nero. He is killing it. Like he is so on it, dude. Like he won't let anyone get hooked by the hook.
Also,
Yeah,
he's killing it on Genji too.
he's killing it on everything he plays. Let's be real here. Like Nero looked really good, and I'm pretty sure while we're talking about the charge, they did free Fraggy, by the way, and that was really awesome to get to see Fraggy play
Yeah,
and see
after
Charge
they
doing
Shu.
went
real good this stage.
after they went 3-0 on who'd they play?
I think
Uh,
Fusion.
Yeah, no, the
no,
uprising,
yeah,
Boston. They just styled on
fusions
Oh
Boston.
on
yeah,
the
yeah,
uprising.
Fusions. Yeah, the style of
They like put
Fusions
in
for
pretty much
Uprising.
the entire B squad after that too.
Except for Nero. Nero stayed in, and then everybody else was
Got heavy
different. I was
carry.
like, who's only wish? Who's like there's yeah, it's fine. But yeah, I mean, we got to see Free Fraggy this week. We also got to see Geguri freed. She came in against the Dynasty. I think it's a freeing week for our players that haven't seen the stage in a
Oh
while.
yeah, a lot of players are coming back, and also dusting off heroes that they haven't played in a while.
Yeah,
All right.
it's definitely been crazy, and saw a lot more Baptiste played. He jumped up 15.6% up to 25.8 from 10.2 the last week of stage 3.
I think the support meta is interesting right now because it's very different. There isn't such a distinction between a main and an off support anymore, right? Like we're seeing a lot of like Mercy Anna or
Although I
uh
would argue that Mercy's now actually become an off support rather than a main support. In most of the comps she's running.
I guess Mercy's an off support when she's pocketing Farah, but they were even playing Mercy Anna without a Farah a
Yeah,
lot
but
of times.
they were often pocketing though the Widow or the Hanzo.
Yeah, sometimes, but I don't think it's necessarily like 100% the pocket that's getting her more play. I guess either way, I think it's interesting to see that. I think we're seeing a lot more Moira than we used to see. I think
A
we're seeing
lot
a
of
lot
Moira.
more Baptiste. I think there's a lot less Zen and Lucio, but they're still being played. Now, I hate to make assumptions after week 1 because I think we saw a lot of variation in week 1 of stage 2 as well when they made the changes to Sombra and Brigitte, right? Like everybody was trying different things. So I think we'll see the meta kind of flatten out a little bit more. Maybe not so much like one comp is the right answer, but I don't know that we'll see so much variation in the coming weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, the support roster. I was talking with PvPX, our last guest in Omnic Lab, and he agrees that it's in the best spot that it's ever been. It, if you're a support right now is the best time for you. I think that you can really pick anything, and anything works well depending on the situation or the composition, and all of them have their strengths, their weaknesses, and they all have a place right now. So it's really good for them. One of the other things that caught my attention though was Diva. Diva was supposed to fall out of the meta, especially with all the other changes coming in, but she has not. And in fact, she has replaced Roadhog in certain compositions and in certain teams. For
Even
example,
with the Arissa.
even with the Orisa, like you would say, Orisa would always get run with a Roadhog. But if you go watch Atlanta Rain, for example, they actually did really good this week, playing almost only Diva and almost no Roadhog. We had actually FRD come in, and he was doing really, really well with the Diva. And it gives the composition a different dimension. The Matrix, still very useful. And Diva is one of those heroes that has the verticality. So they were able to use the Diva as a harassment tool. And now that you don't have a triple tank, Diva actually does get a lot of value because she can get to those heroes and harass them. And a lot of the times they were using Nano Boost just straight in the Diva. The Diva will go in for a dive, Nano Boost on her, and they would guarantee a kill on the backline Zen or one of the backline DPS because now you're always going to have at least a couple of squishies, right? There, you have two DPS and two healers. They no longer have like these like mega health pools and mega healing abilities. So now burst damage or something quick like Diva can provide can be very valuable, and they were getting a lot of value from it.
Well, let me pose a question to you then. Do you think it's because Diva's the most viable, or do you think it's because the league has a bunch of really good one trick divas?
Either that though, or is it because the people playing Roadhog before were not tanks? Right? Like the people who had played Roadhog on teams before were typically the support or one of the damage. It wasn't a tank. And so I think you're seeing a little bit of like, yes, the one trickness of diva players where it's like we could play a Roadhog, but it's not going to be as good. Or we could just play a diva and make it work, right? Like we saw it on Houston with Cool Matt, right? Like Cool Matt is a really good diva, but his Roadhog is leaves some to be desired.
It depends on the team. Yeah, it could be part of that. But honestly, more than being meta dependent, like this hero it tends to be better than this one, except because this player is playing it worse. I think it comes down more to like play style themselves. So I guess a little bit of both of what you guys are saying, because there's teams getting away with both. Like there's teams getting away with the Diva Orisa. There's teams getting away with the Roadhog Orisa, and I personally think that's kind of cool because at this point, at least where the meta is right now, it's coming down to playstyle and mechanical ability and team play, right? It's not coming down to this is the meta pick, so you gotta go with this because it's not, right? And now that you're having so much May that is actually coming in the way of the halt hook combo, Diva doesn't kind of run into that problem, right? Like the Diva doesn't
And she
always
can
have to play.
eat a lot of the ults running those different combos.
She can also eat the ult. She can eat the halts too. So that can help reduce some of that thing that is coming from the enemy team.
How many
And
blizzards did we see eaten this week? Like
yeah, that was a lot.
20? I mean, gosh, it was like every other blizzard was eaten by a May. So
Poor
yeah, I don't.
Snowball.
So
Poor
I think it's just kind
Snowball.
of like it's evolving right now, right? Like the counter to the whole hook is coming in the form of May. So because May is coming in, then it's opening up the window to some other heroes, and nothing has really settled right now. So we're seeing some heroes that we thought were not gonna be in the meta still be in the meta, like Reaper, for example. Reaper came out of the blue, coming in blazing, and it's
The most
interesting the
picked
way
he's
that
ever been picked in the Overwatch League in 1 week.
ever. And he is an interesting pick because the way that the people are using him is not so much as the flanky Reaper. He's not trying to go for the backline or anything like that. Instead, he's hanging out for the tanks. They're using him to counter why am I blanking on his name right now?
Uh,
Hammond.
well, and lots of times they're using him to counter the Orisa Hog. They're also, in addition, using Moira so they can run past Orisa's shield right after she drops it, run through it, and then have healing behind them, along with a bunch of damage right in Orisa's face.
Yeah, the Reaper is good at like getting in and then getting out. It's getting run a lot on the control maps, I've noticed, where tank presence is huge. So being able to like shoot the tanks of the point is a big part of it, right? Like Reaper kind of has that firepower and the presence to be able to get in their face and be like, you're not hanging around the point anymore. Especially the Winst like if you notice the Reapers having hanging out where the Winstons or the Hammonds leap. So the second that they leap, the Reaper's already on their ass and they basically gotta be like, oh man, I gotta get out of here or get killed basically immediately. And yeah, Moira again because of the bunker, Moira coming in because her coalescence can go through shields and then she doesn't care, and she's one of the only healers that can follow the team past the Orisa shield and
Yep.
feel safe, right? Because she has her fade, so she can actually kind of like maneuver in that chaos, and she has her orb that she can just throw in front of her and heal everybody.
And
So
she
I don't
can
know, all
get
these
out
cool meta
of,
changes.
yeah, and she can use Fade to get out of a lot of different situations where other healers would be really, like, would be in deep trouble. Can you imagine Zen
Exactly.
going in?
Zenyatta, no, never. You would never think of doing that
Or
as
Anna
Zenyatta.
even. Anna's like, okay, I'm here.
Yeah,
Goodbye.
yeah. Anna too. Like maybe you can pull it up with Lucio. Lucio can do that. Moira can do that. Mercy can sometimes do that too. But yeah, some of the other
But
healers can
Mercy
do
still
it.
relies on her team, right? Like somebody has to be somewhere that she can fly to
And if you
effectively
notice,
escape.
those are the healers that have kind of come down a little bit, right? Except for Anna, that still gets a ton of play. But Zen has kind of come down a little bit, I think, because of that reason. Because the best way, honestly, is sometimes to counter the Orisa shield. You don't even have to win the shield battle if you just cross the shield, right? And if you can get your team like close enough and you just go through it, that's it. The Orisa is like, oh crap,
Yep,
I got like another 7 seconds of my shield.
yep,
I
it's a
can't do anything.
completely different vulnerability than Ryan has because you couldn't do that with Ryan because Ryan could just reposition the shield at any time. But
Right.
Orisa,
Sigma does too. Orisa has to commit to her position, and usually she commits on the point, right? Because if she holds anywhere outside the point, she loses kind of like her whole appeal, right? So she'll always sit up in the point and try to spam you, and most of it ends up in a standoff where both teams are kind of like sitting on one edge of the point, shooting at each other. But I think a lot of teams have realized, like, no, screw that. Let's just go through.
I think it's interesting that we've seen a lot of Orisa on attack as well, right? Like historically, Orisa has been a defense character because she is more stationary, because it's like take your ground and, you know, stand there.
yep.
But we've seen Orisa on attack a lot more frequently. And I think Orisa has taken over the Rhine position on attack in a lot of senses, right? Because she can do more than one thing, right? She can put down her shield and then shoot and halt and whatnot. Whereas Rhine is very much like, I can either have my shield or I can fire strike or swing or shatter or something like that, right? And Orisa is a little bit more versatile in that area. So I think that's maybe why we're seeing a little bit more of her.
We're seeing a lot of bit of more of her. You were absolutely right that she has taken over for Ryan. She jumped up to 65.5%, up 39.4% from the last week in stage 3. Reinhardt went from a 30.1% pick rate down 29.2% to 0.9% picks. I am so sorry, Reinhardt mains. Oh my gosh, I feel for you because I'm feeling it on ladder, and all my six stacks always pressured me to go the Orisa Hog route, and I'm like, man, but I'm so good at Reinhardt, but it doesn't matter right now because Reinhardt is definitely not as good. Oh, shout out to Shazir who just gave us 1,000 bits in chat. Thank you, brother.
1,000 biddies.
Whoop, whoop.
Yeah, Ryan is struggling right now. He's having a hard time because everything that's getting played on the meta is not very nice against him, right? The Orisa, you can't do much against her, right? Like she wins at long range. It takes you a long time to reach her. If you try to charge her, she just fortifies. Once you get to her, she has a ton of people healing her and Baptiste and Mortality Field putting on her. And the whole time you're trying to get to her, she can halt, hook you, and do stuff from behind you. You can't
And if
drop
you
your
hack
shield.
her, the team still has a shield, right?
Well,
Like I
Yeah,
think that's a
even if
big
and
you,
thing.
but if you get hacked, you're kind of screwed.
also, I think there's a good correlation between Lucio. Lucio, the last week of stage 3 was picked 65.6% of the time, down 33.3%, picked only 32.2% this week.
I
You
do
can't
wonder
really
if
run a
that's,
Ryan without a Lucio. Like you just
I
really
mean, the
can't.
same could be said about Orisa, though, right?
Not really
Orisa's
though,
very
because she
slow
can
as
put
well,
her
though.
shield and she can move up slowly, whereas Ryan's shield runs
Well,
out and he has to hide behind a corner, yada yada.
yeah, the Orisa doesn't suffer as much from the speed boost just because once she's set up, she very rarely wants to move. And even if she is moving like an attack, you do it in stages, right? Like you almost move as your shield cooldown comes online and you kind of start moving forward as you gain ground. But with Reinhardt, you have to hold the shield as you walk forward, right? And you have a limited amount of time because it's not like your shield is on a cooldown. So in 7 seconds, you're gonna have a full shield again. Yours is depleting very fast, so you have a limited
Mhm.
amount of time to close the gap. That's why Lucy is so important for him because that closing gap moment is much less, and his shield gets to last a little bit more. Orisa is mostly just stationary, shooting down, so she doesn't rely on having to move as much.
I guess I wonder too if Lucio's pick rate is down because the teams are trying to get used to only having 2 healers on their team, right? Like, they're so used to having 3 healers on their team that they consistently have a decent amount of healing, right? Whereas now, if you're running a Lucio and an Ana, like, the Ana's resources are only going to one person at a time, and unless she's using her nade. But like the Lucio's resources aren't going to as many people either because everybody's spread out a little bit more. So you're looking at like a lot less healing, trying to adapt to a different meta. And again, I think it's naive for us to think that it won't settle because I think it will. I think we will get a meta or a couple different comps that are
I hope
standard.
you're wrong.
I hope I am too, but I think that's naive. I think there is definitely going to be at
Don't call being
least
a
a couple
dreamer
different
naive.
comps.
I'm a
It is
dreamer.
naive.
I'm a
Sorry.
dreamer. I don't know. I'm a dreamer, not naive.
In
I mean,
history,
ri-
in the
ri-
history of Overwatch or esports in general, has there ever not been the best comp?
To
Now, I'm not saying it's
this
going to be
last week.
one.
This last week.
Yeah, okay, 1 week.
Well, oh, to be fair, usually when there's a big change like this, it does become like a
Yeah,
very
Definitely.
loose meta for a little bit. But that being said, I think that Bell, you're touching a really interesting point where teams can no longer run 3 healers if they want to. So they have to be a lot more picky about who they're gonna bring. And also, if you think about it, team fights are lasting a lot less. When you had the goats meta, some of the team fights would last for a very long time, and the poking battle was constant and like, it was about finding that pick after like 3 minutes of attrition sometimes, right?
right.
um so this would be great for healers that could just heal over time, because for them it was just like the longer they're alive, the longer that the fight goes on, the more value they're outputting, and those heroes become really good, like Lucio, like Brigitte. But now that the fights are not going as long, and you don't have this massive amounts of heroes just constantly needing to be healed, um, I think that Lucio starts looking a little bit less valuable, right? And you start looking at characters like Mercy, who maybe her healing is not as strong over time, and she cannot output the same amount of healing as Lucy can over a long period of time, but she can do a little better job in a shorter period of time. And if somebody dies, she can bring him back, which is huge
Right.
in this meta where snipers are a thing, the battle is more spread out. Squishies are a thing, so 200 HP heroes that can easily die, but it can put a lot of value if they're alive, are constantly out there now, right?
Well, and
So
looking
that
at
gains a lot more value.
the goats meta too, you had the majority of characters that were slow. Okay, and they were all together, so it made sense. But now you're seeing Genji, you're seeing Tracer, you're seeing comps that don't really need the Lucio speed, and that's where he had his biggest boon. Is just this
Absolutely.
like
But see, I
speeding the characters
disagree.
around.
I disagree. I think you saw Lucio first and foremost a staple in the meta during dive. And those were not slow characters, and they were not characters that needed Lucio speed
He
boost,
was not a
or
staple in
that they were.
dive last
He
season at all.
was.
Not in Overwatch League season 1.
Okay, once
Before
Mercy
that,
got her buffs,
yeah.
then Mercy replaced him. But before that, like for a long time, like
But
there
he
was
also
people.
healed. It was before Lucio's rework that turned his healing order into what, 12 meters instead of basically
Maybe.
like I think it was basically 30 or
It was
35
really big.
before that. It was huge
Yeah,
before that. So no matter where your dive was, like where your tracer was or where your Genji was, as long as Lucio could see them, they were getting the benefits of that. But that kind of died with the Lucio rework,
right,
and then Mercy became the dive thing, with the
right.
res.
I guess
Yeah.
another interesting thing for me is I thought we would see a lot more double sniper. And I
I've
think
seen
we didn't.
some.
We
We
saw a
we have.
lot. I
We've
mean,
seen it.
the second and
But
third most picked character were Widow and Hanzo, underneath Mei as the number one.
yeah, but I feel like from the games that I watched, which were like 90% of them, it was yes, we saw some Widow Hanzo, but there was a lot of Tracer, Reaper, May. There there was a lot of different compositions, and it didn't just rely on the Hanzo and even or the Widow. And even some of the compositions that they were going against a Widow and maybe getting outplayed, they were able to counter it with a, you know, Tracer or a Sombra or anything, like, and I think that that's interesting, right? I think we didn't fall into a default previous meta, and
Something
I like
else.
that.
No, and I do agree with you here because a lot of people were saying like, oh, double sniper is going to be the thing, right? Like Widow and Hanzo are going to be the
Mhm.
next like best thing. But I think that nobody was counting on one May being so popular, two heroes like Moira starting to become more popular as well. And then you can swap to like Genji or Tracer, and that's not throw pick anymore because you're not going up against goats. So like those picks can also aid you against the Widow, Hanzo. So I think that even though those heroes are very good in this meta, they're not the end all be all. And depending on the team and the map, you're gonna have to swap off of them.
S-
Return of the Nanoblade.
Yeah, dude.
Oh
Well,
yeah.
okay. Before that, though, something else I thought was really interesting. So the changes with CP came in, where if you die right as the point's getting taken, the first point, or shortly after the first point's been taken, you get an almost immediate respawn. Also, 1 minute was taken off of the second clock. So you used to get 4 minutes to start the first point, then you get four more after you take the first. Now you only get three more. So I thought it was really interesting on 2CP. Some teams went multiple rounds, like scoring 4 and 5 points, whereas on other times, they didn't like teams didn't even take point two.
A
So
lot of
I
it
thought
was
that
either
was
one or
really
the other.
interesting. Yeah, I thought it was really interesting.
Yeah, I think that's the thing is either one or the other, right? Like if they got both points, then they got both points two or three times. And if they didn't take that second point at all. And I don't know how much the change affected that, but I do think that it's made teams a little bit more there wasn't as much stall on first point as I thought there was going to be because of the change of the spawn time. Right? Like, I thought we were gonna see a lot longer stalls on point 1 because of the change of the respawn time for when they respawn onto point 2, so to avoid the snowball, but it seemed like teams were still backing up, and that could just be a
Them used to it.
habit thing, right?
Because
Of
I
like,
still
"No,
do
no,
it
no."
and have to
Yeah,
remember I don't have to.
right. It's like, "No, we can go install and die, and it's not the end of the world, they're not gonna snowball on us." But we didn't see a ton of that, so I don't know.
I think that it's still a liability, right? Because even though you can now do that, you better have a good purpose to do it. Because if you just do it to stall and then die, you're also feeding ultimates. It's not like necessarily like the best thing in the world, right? Just to gain a few seconds that you might be able to gain on the second point as long as they don't have the extra resources, right?
Right. If you
And
can bait
some
out
would
an
make
ult
points
or
that it builds alts for the other team, but you could also think about how, like, what character are you playing? How close are you to alt? There's just a whole lot to think about there, but that's something we'll be watching going forward. Um, the other
I
thing,
think that
yeah,
they still have to get used to it too, right? Because it's a very recent change,
very
mhm,
and
recent.
the potential of that change hasn't really been explored too much.
Yeah,
right.
not on the ladder at all. Like I don't
No.
think most people even know. But the other thing is, yeah, the return of the Genji blade that Mel touched on. Oh my gosh, Haksal was the best Brig jail the whole time. Never complained about it. Played it to a T. Played it the best of probably anybody in the league, and then comes in and just looks like the shadow bird of old with just blade after blade. I mean, this guy was killing it, and he wasn't the only Genji to kill it, but man.
Yeah, it was it was nutty, and it felt like, and we had heard the stories of Haxel, right? Like I didn't follow Contender, so I didn't know the Haxel craziness, but he comes out on Genji, and it's like he never stopped playing him. It was just like, I got a blade every 30 seconds. Like,
Uh,
what
it-
if?
it's like
Like,
it's like
don't
one of
mess
those
with me.
things where you see it happen, and then you react like this. I mean, it
Yeah.
literally is that, you know?
Well, and it wasn't even just like he only got kills on his blade, like most Genjis, right? Haxel was like popping off with like shurikens. And I'm like, what is happening right now? Like, you're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to be like kind of annoying until you get your blade and then you kill people, right? But no, Haxel's like, I got this, guys. I'm gonna kill 3 people with my shurikens, and then we're gonna get Nano Blade for next fight, okay? Like, it was insane. So I don't know. I didn't see any other Haxel Genjis. I saw some other good Genjis, but Haxel blew my mind.
Yeah, it was
No,
exciting.
Haxel did a really good debut on the Genji for sure. I think that's a mark of good Genji, right? You're not relying on your Dragon Blades, but like your Shurikens are equally as lethal. Like his dives were so calculated, and like man, that guy got so many kills with Genji, which is nice to see. It's good to see Genji back in the meta now that we finally have targets that he can actually kill. He's not going up against 3 tanks and 3 healers constantly healing themselves. Like he can actually do something, and he doesn't have like 3 ultimates that immediately counter him right off the bat. So it feels good. I love Genji. He's one of my favorite characters. I wish I was better at Genji. I've tried getting good at it, but it's one of those characters that, man, you have to put so many hours into it to get marginal like increases in your gameplay. But it's so rewarding once you get it, because as you guys can see, you can do some amazing things with it.
Well,
Definitely.
I'm really good at Genji, so if you want some teaching later, I can kind of fill you in
Oh,
on
please do. Yeah,
how
let
to,
me sign
yeah,
up for some
yeah.
coaching.
No worries. Yeah, I got you.
All right, well, we're running a little low on time. We didn't get to talk about a lot of games this week, guys, but just so much changed in the meta. We felt it was important to talk about the actual meta and not about specific games. But there's one team that I do want to talk about before we leave, and that's the Fusion. I thought the Fusion would come out swinging and be amazing. EQO and Carpe, but instead they lose 2-3 to the Charge and 2-3 to the Hunters. And the Fusion was they were the map 5 team of season 1. Like if you went to a map 5, you're like, well, okay, well, we lost cuz
The
Fusion
uprising.
owns of last season.
Yeah,
Yeah.
uprising was the
No.
reverse sweep champions.
No,
No,
that's this year.
that's this season. Yeah, that's this
Yeah,
season.
no. Fusions. And I'm not talking about reverse sweep. I'm talking about map 5. Like if you went to a map 5 against Philadelphia Fusion, you were going to lose in season 1, but they lose to the Charge and the Hunters this first week of 222, and I was confused, and I just wondered if you guys had any thoughts on that.
Yeah, I don't know what's happening here. EQ and Carpe maybe have been in Zarya and Brigitte for too long or something, because Carpe doesn't look the same on the Widow. And I think that EQO was doing a lot of flex. Like he was changing a lot heroes versus the Charge. I was actually paying a lot of attention to him. And it seems like he kept getting outplayed by Nero. And eventually he started trying to imitate Nero. And you see him bring out the Mei, and he was sort of like catching up to Nero. At first, he was a little rough, but it was almost like watching him learn as the fight went on, because he kept like imitating what Nero was doing, and towards the end, he was actually able to match him a little bit good. But it almost felt like he was playing catch up in that matchup, right? He wasn't like Nero had a plan, and he was like, "I know what I'm doing. My Mei is looking super solid. I'm gonna stick to Mei the whole game." EQO was more like trying to adapt to what they were doing, but could never whenever like, and same with Carpe. Like I feel like he was such a force to be reckoned with last season, and this season he's not looking bad, but he's not like that carry DPS that we saw last season.
Okay, to be fair, the Charge and the Hunters both had their second game against the Uprising, right? So like it's kind of a gimme game for them, they think. So maybe they both just really prepared for Philly. And I don't think you can count Philly out. I mean, you saw Happy and Nero like popping off on DPS, right? And
Happy, Jesus Christ, where does this ban come
yeah,
from? Talking about like breakout players. Like
Hey,
now that you
I
have
told you
DPS back
about
again.
Happy stage 1, but he just didn't get to play DPS.
Well, I mean, I believed you, but I hadn't been able to see it until like yesterday or like 2 days ago when I saw him against Fusion, just like popping heads every 2 seconds.
and I will say the Hunters looked really good. The Hunters and the Charge both went 2-0 this week, right? So like yes, Philly struggled this week, but they took both of their games to map 5. They didn't lie down and get walked all over. So I don't think you have to worry so much about Fusion. Now, maybe because we're in stage 4 and there's not a ton of games left, yeah, you probably have to worry.
I mean,
But
rough start for them in like the new meta, but yeah, they might be able to bring it back.
but
Who
I think
knows?
they can pull it out. Like, but I think it was more exciting to see the Hunters like really impress us in 2-2 meta, which everybody thought that maybe they wouldn't once everybody else started playing DPS. And they didn't really last stage, right? Like, or they kind of were mediocre, right? But I think that they came out showing us some really great stuff. I think Charge really impressed. And I think Fusion put up a fight. And I don't think that they have much to worry about. They just need to
Well, none
figure
of
out
you
next week.
guys gave me the correct answer. The correct answer is Fusion's problem at the moment is Poco's mustache. So, on that note,
Wait,
we
didn't
will
he shave it?
close.
That's not true. He's shaved it for
I
match
thought he
2.
shaved it. Yeah.
Yeah, before they played the Hunters, it was gone. He
I
said
I
stand
thought
it's
it was
just
corrected.
hilarious.
I stand
Listen to
corrected.
I thought it was hilarious into the casters though, putting bets on how long he was gonna last. All of them were like, "It's gonna be gone by tomorrow."
Yeah, after they lost to the Charge, he posted a picture on Twitter of him with the razor saying, "You failed me, mustache," and then it was shaved for the next day.
All right,
Yeah,
guys.
it was
Well,
great.
if we get $50 an episode on Patreon, iPlay will sport the mustache for at least a couple weeks.
I don't want to mind
We're gonna
making that a
throw you
goal.
under the bus.
I'll do it. I'll do it. If we get
Do it.
over $50 per episode on Patreon, I will get a mustache
I will not, but yeah,
for at least
maybe
for at
for a
least
lot
a
of
month.
money.
For at least a month, we have to have that.
Wow. Oh, I thought you were gonna keep the mustache for at least a month. I was
No,
like,
no. Well, that's to be defined. That is to be defined.
oh god, oh god. Okay, can I give an honorable mention to my Outlaws though, real fast?
Really fast, because we do need to close out.
I know it's just really fast. I just wanted to say good job, Outlaws, for picking it up and winning against the Gladiators because you kind of sucked it up against Paris,
And
but you
Jake
figured it out.
playing like some extremely skilled heroes, like one of the few people to play McCree and really killed it too.
Yeah,
Good
I'm
job.
just gonna say Outlaws often mistake into the right composition, and I'm glad you did, guys. I'm glad you submitted the wrong roster and Dante stayed in and you figured it out. So let's do it.
All right, well, guys, we will talk more about games next week. We're going to close out the show. I have accidentally deleted my closing notes, so I'm going to give it a shot here without any bullet points. So you can find us on all major podcatchers, iTunes, yada, yada, yada. You can find us on youtube.com/AlRecap. We stream live every Monday night, approximately 8 o'clock Mountain, 10 o'clock Eastern. Make sure to come hang out with us live. We try to interact with chat. We definitely read chat, so you guys definitely help influence the show, so definitely come in live. How can you help the show? You can help us by telling everybody, telling your friends, talking on Reddit, telling people you like us, or telling people you hate us. All press is good press. You can
Not
leave
true.
us a iTunes review. We do read them all on the show if they're 5 stars. If they're not 5 stars, we try to learn from them. So please try and put constructive criticism rather than you suck, because we
We do
will
have a new one.
listen to your constructive criticism. If you can find it before I close out, then you can read it.
Oh, I have it. It's in our show notes.
Oh, well
Sorry.
then read it up.
From Ice H Jello. He says, great host with
Ice
variety.
ham jello, nice.
Yeah. Says, I'll recap. It's such a fun listen. Going over the previous week of Out Games is getting entertaining. Is always entertaining, knowing how competitive the league is. Hearing the difference of opinions on Owl Recap is the best because games are so split. Second, there is a multitude of ways to speculate. Sometimes there are surprise guests that go through a mini interview, which is also fantastic. Keep up the good work as always. And if you made it this far, Poco is my daddy. Go Fusion.
Well, thank you, Ice Ham Jello, because I wasn't sure if people liked that, but when we have people on the show for the first time, I like to give listeners a little background on them, just so they know where they stand in the Overwatch community. Because I remember listening to podcasts for years and just being like, well, I don't know this guy. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you have to be really into the scene to know everyone. So I really am. I really enjoy that you like that. So thank you so much. And I think with that, you can contact us at AlRecap on Twitter. If you want to send something longer, send your emails to contact@alrecap.com. Have I forgotten anything, guys?
No, you did a pretty good job, actually.
Well, then
I'm proud of
tell
you.
us where we can.
Discord.me/Omniclass.
Oh, yes. Game night, I play.
Oh yeah, game night last week went pretty well. We were playing in the PTR. It was a nice and cozy game night that we had. A lot of Sigma play.
Lots
My
of it.
proudest play was when one of the listeners tried to throw me off the cliff with Reinhardt. He tried to do the bumper play. He hid behind like a wall, charged me from behind, and then like he timed it well. So he like ended at the edge of the cliff and threw me off at Sigma, but he wasn't counting on me having my ultimate. And I freaking just come back
Nice.
as Magneto. And just like throw them all on the ground. It was great. So yeah, we had a great time. This month though, game night is going to be on August 30th. So keep an eye out for that. And if you guys want to come play with us, I'm pretty sure that Sigma will be out by then. And I believe that 222 should be out by then too. Or might be like the 1st of September. So we'll see. We'll see what we gotta do there. But come by. It's fun.
Yeah, that's August 30th. Also, I wanted to give a quick thank you and shout out to one of our community members. Tundra ran the PTR game
And
night. Shock ran it before I got there, but Tundra ran it for hours while I was there. He did a really good job of explaining the rules to new people coming in. So big shout out to him. Thank you so much for doing that, because it is a lot of work.
It is a lot of work. Yeah, thank you, man.
All right, guys. I play. Where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter at iPlayGames. You spell that IPLAI Games.
And where can we find you, the beautiful Melorita?
You can find me on Twitter at Mel Overwatch. You spelled that MEL Overwatch.
Thank you.
I know that's
Thank you for the
confusing.
clarification.
And you can find me on Twitter at Blazin_Bob. That's BLAZZIN_BOB. It's been one hell of a couple weeks in Overwatch, and we are excited for the future. Can't wait to see you guys on the other side. Goodbye.
Bye.